because you're so tuned in.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the, what is this called? The fourth genre under the gum tree reading at this beautiful Bonaventure Brewing Company. Thank you for making it over here. My job is to introduce your hostesses for the evening. We have Laura Julier, who has been for 5 years the editor of Fourth Genre magazine. We are so happy to be partnering with Fourth Genre. I first discovered it came into my universe in Boston when I went to a panel and Richard Hackler read Taco Tuesday. And I don't know if any of you were there, but it was amazing. It totally turned me on to Fourth Genre. So I'm very excited to be doing this event with Fourth Genre. So anyway, the Fourth Genre is a biannual journal. It's out of Michigan State University Press. Also, Jana Marlies Marin is your other hostess. She is the founder and publisher of Under the Gum Tree, which is in its 5th year. And yeah, that's it. Thanks for coming. And here they are, Laura and Jana. But Jana can hold your microphone.
Hi, I'm completely wiped out, as most of you are. This is really loud. Closer? Oh, okay. Sounds really loud to me. I am thrilled to be part of the first ever off-site Fourth Genre reading. Thrilled to have the writers participating. Thrilled to be partnering with Jana, this was her idea. She was the one. We sat at Nonfiction Now in Flagstaff next to each other, sharing a table, hatching ideas, but she's the one that made it happen. So hopefully we can do this again. Thank you all for coming out, and we want to get to the authors.
Thank you, Laura, and thank you, Robin. Did you introduce yourself? Robin is the managing editor of Under the Gum Tree. Yes, many cheers for Robin. She's my right-hand lady, and many things would not happen without Robin. So thank you, Laura, for partnering with us. We're super excited to have this nonfiction-only reading, and let's get started. Our first reader this evening joins us from Seattle. She is the author of the novel Letters to Zell, and her newest book, New Charity Blues, will be available on April 12th, which is only a few days away. Very exciting. She's the managing editor of Easy Street, and she's the senior editor at the LaCroix Review. Her shorter works have appeared in journals such as Cartridge Lit, Synesthesia, and The First Line, and her creative nonfiction essay, Roads Lost, was featured in issue 16 of Under the Gum Tree. Please welcome Camille Gripe.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here today. It's great to see such a great crowd celebrating nonfiction work, which is wonderful. I'm actually not going to read from my Under the Gum Tree piece because it's quite long and a braided essay and it wouldn't make any sense. So I'm going to read you a little piece that I wrote for my 36th birthday. Now we are 36. That we have achieved 36 is mostly unremarkable. We have been devoid of bad luck, stray buses, and creaking pianos. At our age, no one bothers to make a birthday cake. The mail is devoid of cards. We cook our tired traditional Monday night dinner, or perhaps we've ordered takeout. Fork to mouth, we wonder how we got here already. We have conquered our fear of raw chicken, car washes, and crowds. We've mastered the airport parking garage and double-sided fashion tape. We are young enough to find favor with our nieces and too old to race our nephews. We have a firmer grasp of the checking account, but still struggle to wrangle our calendar. There are crow's feet around our eyes and freckles that appear overnight of their own volition. There are bruises from solid obstacles on our arms and shins, injuries quickly forgotten, incidents and accidents and fits of pique. We are practicing our life's work, whether we meant to or not, whatever it happens to be. We have landed on paths as parents or thinkers or dreamers or builders or teachers or engineers or librarians or translators or crane operators, all of those things or none. We've learned to stash things like chocolates and broken cassette tapes, old love letters and the beginnings of a collection of 1,000 paper cranes, and the fortunes from Chinese cookie restaurants. We amass shelves full of books boasting allegories we see straight through and still fail to comprehend. Pictures, too. Pictures of a time when we were more beautiful than we realized. We now know that we do not need to have a favorite color, a lie that has been told to us to separate us from the others. We are not yellows or greens. We can change our minds every day if we so desire. We drive too fast or too slow and choose not to brush our teeth. We leave the bed unmade and the dishes in the sink. Or we demand everything to be crisp and sparkling, cautiously dictating our own customs, free from the yoke of repercussion. No one is watching anymore. Our forever friends number fewer than we expected they would when we were small. This means we'll be trusted to accurately portray the trajectory of our lives to strangers without significant additions or subtractions. This is a heavy burden to a memory that is already beginning to betray us. We have fallen in love and out of love and in love again. We've been married and divorced and remarried. We've learned to ask for what we want. We've learned to see that which has always been unrealistic. We've learned to relish living alone. We've respected the spaces in our togetherness. We've fallen in love with our friends, with our enemies. We've learned to fall in love with life, which has become a tenuous and fickle thing. We no longer have a place to send a Father's Day card. Our own doctors, we no longer trust, take us apart to look for the cancer inside. We are terrified for the first time. We hide from the support we once begged for openly. We don't answer the phone. We drink to forget. The wine that once brought us such elation makes us too sleepy to sing and dance to the wheeling stars. So tired we fall asleep with hands in curious spaces between legs and breasts, our original intents unconsummated. Our dreams fill out the rest, muddled and strange, tight ropes and leaps off bridges and canyons, naked abandoning and abandonment, images difficult to parse in summer daybreak. We shake it from our heads like water, striding chins up toward the oncoming years. Happy birthday to us.
Okay, this is one of those weird moments. I have never met Tara Shea, so I don't know if she's here. Okay, good. Excellent. Tara Shea's essay is going to appear in, I think, the next issue, not the one that's just out. Tara Shea Nesbitt is the author of The Wives of Los Alamos, which was a New York Times Editor's Choice, a finalist for the Penn Bingham Prize, and the recipient of 2 New Mexico Arizona Book Awards. Her prose has been featured in the Los Angeles Review of Books, The Guardian, The Ecologist, Quarterly West, The Iowa Review, and elsewhere. And she teaches creative writing at Miami University. I'm thrilled to meet you. Welcome.
Thanks so much for the invitation. It's so great to be here. I'm going to read the first 4 minutes and 30 seconds of the essay that will be coming out in the fall. Can you hear me okay, or is this echo? Okay. Yeah. A little closer. How's that? Yeah. And up. Yeah, all right. So this is the first 4 minutes and 30 seconds of what you can read more of in the fall in fourth genre.
Don't point it toward the speaker.
Don't point it towards the speaker.
There you go.
Okay, here we go. Paper nests. My partner saw the papery nest first under the roof of our garage and understood it to be abandoned. After bringing the nest into the house to observe more closely, he noticed the nest was not abandoned, but rather still alive with small incubating wasps. Their vulnerable, squirming, blind bodies, they would find a home in our home and our own back porch. We both knew what decision we were to make, but did not say it aloud. He took the nest away. A week before, I was 8 months pregnant. I arrived at the hospital concerned my daughter was not moving. "Don't you feel this?" the nurse asked, placing her hand on my stomach when the monitor told her my daughter was kicking. "Believe me," the doctor said, "she's safer in there." And at this pause, she pointed to my belly, "than out here. Out here in the world, she would have difficulty nursing. She would not sleep well. She could get sick." They monitored me for 2 hours and likely concluded that I was one of those overly concerned pregnant women. I must not know my own body, I worried. We went home. 2 days later, my stomach began cramping. I called my partner. A snowstorm was approaching, and it would be an hour or more to travel from our town to the city, the doctor's office. I made a calculation, feeling badly for making us travel. The snow piled up. A 1-hour drive turned into 3. I took the stairs first to the office, running as much as an 8-month pregnant woman can. We waited. The midwife arrived. She had been on call that day and scolded us for not telling her over the phone that our daughter was breech. We apologized. She placed cold gel on my stomach with the confidence of a woman ready to return to her day off. The wand hovered back and forth. There was my daughter, her fingers long, her body curled. I observed the screen, peering inside myself to see my sleeping daughter. But we all, my partner, the midwife, myself, could not deny one single glaring absence. Her heart was no longer beating. In a black cotton dress, too thin for the snow, and running shoes, in my haste I had not worn socks, I walked out of the office. My partner removed the car seat and put it in the trunk. My partner, the midwife, and I got in. I sat in the back where the car seat had been. I walked through the hospital to the waiting room of a doctor's office. Every seat was taken with pregnant mothers, but I thought of them as mothers whose babies are not dead. Some were with toddlers who stacked blocks or hung off their shoulders. I held my sobs in for 25 minutes. At 25 minutes, they got me to a room, quarantining my sadness. The doctor arrived and confirmed her death. I was given an option. I could wait for my body to go into labor naturally and hold her inside me for as long as 2 weeks, or they could begin induction that evening. We told the midwife we did not need her, and we were admitted to the hospital 2 hours later. In the interim, my partner and I walked across the street to a restaurant. I asked him to order a beer so that I could, after 8 months without, finally have a drink. But the presence of the off-duty doctors and nurses that crowded the restaurant stopped me from taking a sip. To them, I would be an expectant mother coming from a wellness visit, hazarding a life by having a beer. Only my partner and I knew the situation was the opposite. Our hospital room was away from others, and a single silk white rose taped to the outdoor of our door told the staff that our daughter was not alive. We waited. Outside the hospital, an April blizzard covered and quieted the city, and in another city, 2 bombs exploded at a marathon finish line. Thanks.
Thank you, Tara Shea. Okay, so when everyone arrived, you should have gotten a raffle ticket, and we're going to draw some raffle tickets for a couple prizes. So if you win, you can go over to the merch table and see my husband Jeremy and pick your prize. There's a couple copies of Fourth Genre. There's a copy of Under the Gum Tree. There's an Under the Gum Tree t-shirt and some posters. So can I have some tickets? I need my lovely assistant to come up and bring me the tickets. Here she comes. So we'll do a couple in between each reader, the readers. So we'll stay to the end and you'll still have a chance to win a prize is the whole point. Okay, so last three are 8456374. 6374 are the last four numbers. Woohoo! Winner over here. And we have 6323. 6323? Yes? Yes? Okay, fantastic. 2 winners, awesome. No, save that one for the next time, and then, thank you. Okay, thank you. Okay, our next reader is joining us from Connecticut. His work has been featured in the Writers Chronicle, Brainchild Magazine, the Huffington Post, Connecticut Review, the Good Men Project, and many others. His essays have been listed as notable selections in the Best American Sports Writing 2014, the Best American Essays 2012, 2014, and 2015. And he holds an MFA from Fairfield University, where he is an adjunct professor of English. His essay on propriety is in the current issue of Under the Gum Tree, which you can pick up from our booth at the book fair. Please welcome Jamie Chesbro.
Thanks, Jenna. So this is a shortened version of On Propriety. To instill a proper set of dining fundamental decencies, you must sit at the head of the table and expel the same declarative sentences you heard your own father say. That is, if you expect your offspring to resemble a similar level of social conduct. Sit up straight, no elbows on the table, chew with your mouth closed. Do not sit on a throne of inconstancy. Children sense weakness. They sense parental fatigue. Your children will suffer for diminished expectations. Accept a plate of steak, broccoli, and sweet potato. It's hot now. Remember, you and your wife decided to take shifts eating, so eat. Insist that the eldest child eats with you. Steak, he says. Have a seat, please, James, you say. I'm not James, he says with clenched teeth. I'm J. Rex. J. Rex, please have a seat. You see, children want to see if you really mean what you say. To be fair, you must accept that their sense of etiquette, like everything else, is still developing. All the more reason why a father must hold steadfastly to the propriety which he desires for his family. I'm a carnivore, J. Rex says. Growl. J. Rex, no growling at the table, please. You lift Mary to her booster seat and snap the tray in place. Your wife places Mary's steak and broccoli on the table and asks you to cut it for her before walking back to the kitchen with Claire on her hip. Mom, J. Rex shouts as he leaps from his seat to follow her into the kitchen. James, please sit down, you say. I don't want it, Mary shouts as she places pieces of steak on her tray, her hair thrashing either side of her chair. Ha ha, Mary, J. Rex says, you're a curlosaurus. After all, one must believe that distinctive matters of graciousness must be embodied and displayed through tireless patience, and that these manners will pay tenfold in the years to come. Think of patience as the attribute to survive the crucible of instilling essential mores you can expect to see in perpetuity. Your wife re-enters the dining room with Claire still in her hip and a bowl of sweet potatoes she has pureed for her. Mary, please don't put so much in your mouth at once, your wife says. Do you like it, Mary? You ask. She nods with wide eyes. And James, I'm not reheating your steak. Eat it while it's hot, your wife says. But I don't like it hot, he says. It's not hot, James, your wife says. I mean, before it gets cold. Okay, Myosora, he replies. Hey, Dad, did you know Myosora means good mother lizard? Yes, you say, thinking of the stack of library books on his bureau. Please eat. J. Rex pushes himself off his chair and stomps over to Curlosaurus, arms bent, 2 fingers in each hand curled. James, please sit down, you say. J-Rex growls at her, and in defense, she scratches his face. James, it's J-Rex, Dad. J-Rex, will you please sit down and leave her alone? You roar with an impatience that unsettles the pack. You know that you don't teach young children as much as you reteach them over and over again. You know if your father were alive and could be present for such moments, he would remind you of how hyper and active you often were as a child. The room is quiet as you exhale through pursed lips for an extended duration. Claire prefers to sink both teeth into her big toe rather than the sweet potato your wife has cooked, allowed to cool, then pureed. Mom, J-Rex says, his mouth full of broccoli, don't you know Claire's a milkosaurus? All she eats is milk. You're right, James, she says through a grin, but we're trying to introduce her new foods to her. Perhaps endurance is the seminal fabric in the tablecloth of decorum. Be patient, and the young offspring will see your lofty expectations as a challenge, and will rise to meet them. James rests his head in his hand, looking down at the plate and scrunching his nose. Milkosaurus sits on your wife's knee. You ask her if she wants you to hold Milkosaurus, and she shakes her head. She's happy, your wife says, and takes her first bite. Mom, J-Rex says, can you please heat up my steak? Okay, James, you say, I'll be right back. I'm a carnivore, Dad, he says. J-Rex growls at the plate and spears as many pieces as he can. Claire squeals and claps, bouncing on Myosaur's knee, her blue eyes ablaze in the light from the chandelier. Claire breastfeeds often. She still sleeps in your room. In the morning, she fusses, and your wife lifts her from her crib to her chest to keep the other dinosaurs from waking. Milkosaurus sits up in Myosaur's lap after nursing and smiles. The white teeth flashes of your children's grins can overpower whatever idealistic presumptions you may have had about how you'd like your children to act, or how you think you should react to them. A smile can temporarily eradicate the self-doubt that lives in the subconscious of the chaotic parenting mind. Specifically because of its impermanence, its momentary glimpse of contentment, its ability to supersede the communicative quality of any words, you had better absorb its positive energy. Dad, J-Rex says while chewing, placing his hand on your forearm, is this a great dinner or what?
Okay, where is she? Kate Carol DeGudis. There she is. Kate Carol DeGudis is the author of Objects in the Mirror Are Closer Than They Appear, a finalist for the Oregon Book Award, the Lambda Literary Award, and something else more recently, but I can't remember. She'll tell you. Kate has an MFA in creative writing from the Rainier Writing Workshop at Pacific Lutheran University. That sounds really fancy and impressive, doesn't it? Really, it means she'll have student loans until she is 72 years old, and that all her liberal arts education makes her fascinating at dinner parties. You can learn more about her and read her critically acclaimed blog, The Authenticity Experiment, at www.katecaroldegutis.com. Kate also, I want to say, in deep appreciation, was the guest editor of the section of the last issue of Fourth Genre that was in memory of Judith Kitchen. And I'm really appreciative of the fact that she did that, and she did an awesome job. So, Kate.
Judith Kitchen. Well,
Just don't point it
there.
towards that. Just point the mic away from that. Yeah, that's it.
Hi.
Yeah. There you go.
Judith Kitchen was my editor, and she died 2 days after she finished the edit on my manuscript. So I'm going to read you what I won't wear. MAC or Bobbi Brown, Maybelline, and CoverGirl are out too, although Estee Lauder and L'Oreal make excellent moisturizers, and everyone needs well-hydrated skin. And sometimes I'll wear a little Aveda brand lipstick just to freak out my girlfriend, because in a weird way, it's almost gender bending. Mini, midi, or maxi skirts, A-line, drop-waisted, jumper, or sundresses, a shirtwaist, a sheath or a shift, a cocktail dress or a ball gown, a kitty foil or a St. John's knit, a tunic, a crinoline, a bustle. That said, I don't mind wrapping a sarong around my waist and over my shorts to visit Catholic cathedrals in Latin countries. It's sort of my butch version of a skort, although it's not exactly flattering. A twin set, cap sleeve t-shirts, or anything called a blouse, a chemise, a spaghetti strap tank top, a tube top, a smock, or a turtleneck, a shirt with a Peter Pan collar, a cloy, or anything where my midriff hangs out. Nylons, thigh-high or otherwise. Of course, Spanx are a miracle of modern technology that our forebears fought for, a 21st century alternative to the Merry Widow, which I believe have their place in the well-dressed butch's wardrobe. Court shoes or elevator shoes, platforms, stilettos, or kitten heels. No to mules and pumps, too. No to Manolo Blahnik, Jimmy Choo, Charles Jourdan, Christian Louboutin, and Bruno Mali. Unless you're talking about his two-toned Oxford or the big buckled chunky-heeled loafer. But you're not, are you? You mean his wedges and his spectator pumps, don't you? In which case, no means no. What I will wear is fraught for all sorts of reasons. Because when I came out, it was not politically correct to be butch or femme, buying into the dominant paradigm of gender expectations and all that. Because I have been socialized as a woman, even as I have railed against the Maybelline and the MAC and all those ridiculous outfits that require you to sit with your legs pressed demurely together. Because, and it pains me the most to admit this to you, I care what you think. I want you to like me and not judge me simply because I favor patterned ties in a double Windsor knot. It's easy enough to dress for every day. There's no issue with slim fit colored chinos, especially if they have a button fly, burnt umber, cobalt blue, sage green, fire truck red, and aubergine. All of these hang in my closet. A hard finish so the pants wear well is preferable, but brushed twill is all right too. Everyone is wearing these now. Even Costco sells them. Crew neck t-shirts, I favor these. Long sleeve is more often than not better than short. Somehow it's more formal and it completes my favored highbrow, lowbrow look of jeans, a t-shirt, and an expensive vest or blazer. Of course, I also like hip shirts cut from Italian cotton, made by Bugatti Omo, Duchamp, or Robert Graham. Something with subtle checks, reversed out cuffs and collars, square buttons. Something that when paired with my perpetually flushed Irish cheeks and soft face gives me a gender-bending sort of look. I'm afraid you'll notice my transgression, and yet I love to transgress. See, I told you it was fraught. But now the tie, bow or otherwise, patterned more often than not. This is the big one. A tie is like a giant fucking billboard that says, ask me about my gender identification. Here's the rationalization that I make each time I'm standing in front of the mirror, collar up, tying under, over, behind, and through. A patterned tie is ornamental and loose at the neck, charming. Less chance of people thinking you're just an angry dyke trying to make a point. And please don't call me that, unless you are. A dyke, I mean. Straight people, even liberal ones, don't get to use that word. The shoes, ropers and cowboy boots can work. Fry boots if it's a hipster event. Same thing with biker toe black Oxfords. For meetings with clients or dinners out, suede wingtips or saddle shoes with outrageously garish laces are stylish too. Wingtips made from shiny Cordovan leather dyed tobacco brown or midnight black are too much. Too much what? I'm not entirely sure. Too butch? Yes. Too gender non-conforming when paired with the rest of my ensemble? Sure. Too much of an in-your-face statement? Maybe. Even though these shoes feel right on me, I don't feel like I have the ego strength to carry off wearing them. Finally, the foundation. Sports or push-up bra? Or briefs? Wouldn't you like to know?
Thanks.
Don't point it at the speaker.
Don't point it at the speaker. Thank you, Kate. Okay, we're going to do a couple more drawing raffle prizes. Raffle tickets, please. Raffle tickets, please. Here they come. Here they come. Ta-da! This is my lovely associate editor, Kate Ashe, everyone. Yes. Okay, we have 6372. 6372. Yes, okay, we have a winner. And we also have, you go to the merch table and pick out your prize. We also have 6394. 6394. Yeah, okay. Congratulations, winners. Okay, our next reader is joining us from Maine, the easternmost tip of the United States. Her work has appeared or is forthcoming in Under the Gum Tree, of course. And by the way, I should say, I think she's our only reader tonight who has been in both Under the Gum Tree and Fourth Genre, which is kind of cool. Yes. Her work has also appeared in Solstice Literary Magazine, About Place Journal. She reviews regularly for the Quiddity Tides and the Review. Her essay Coming Out was named as a finalist in the 2013 Fourth Genre Essay Contest, and one called Provincetown was awarded an Editor's Choice Award from Solstice. She's the founding organizer of IOTA, the Conference of Shorts Prose, which happens in Maine. So you have to go all the way up to Maine if you want to go to that conference. Oh, you get to go. Her essay, 6-Point Win, was featured in issue 9 of Under the Gum Tree. And she has a book, which is here on the merch table. So check it out. It's called Postcards from Here. Please welcome Penny Geisinger. Okay.
Thank you so much. I just have to do a quick, this is really tall. Oh. Yeah, maybe. A quick appreciation for Jana and Laura, who are just such exquisite literary citizens. Seriously, you're both a force. Thank you so much for everything that you do, and everything that you are. And we're on a roof in LA. Yeah. In Maine, we don't go on the roof unless we're going to scrub the chimney. You all don't even know what that means. So I'm going to read from my book, Postcards from Here, which is a collection of micro essays. And I'm just going to read two pieces called Marriage and Marriage 2. So this is Marriage. My wife catches porcupines with the trash can and the lid the way you or I catch spiders with a glass and a piece of paper. Porcupines are bad neighbors. They let themselves into the garden and take one bite out of every tomato, every squash, every cucumber. They climb up our ornamental trees and rip off the branches, leaving ugly holes near the top. We can't decide if they're brazen or just stupid the way they ransack the place in daylight with us standing right there. They know enough to run, though, when Kara bounds toward them with the trash can. I watched her one morning chase a fat porcupine clear across the grassy expanse of our lawn. It waddled as fast as it could, and Kara, wearing pajamas still, had to toss the bulbous plastic trash barrel ahead of her to capture it. Her aim was good. The barrel landed on the fleeing animal just cleanly enough to halt its escape. I do not support porcupine relocation. I worry too much about babies being left behind or porcupine homesickness, but I have learned to stay out of this. From the porch, coffee in my hand, I watched her wrestle the trash can lid beneath the soft feet of the porcupine. Then she rolled the whole package over, sliding the creature to the bottom. She stood next to the barrel, breathing hard, and asked me if I would get some rope from the garage. I hate that she loads them up and drives them down the road, hate that they are scared and confused and lost. I project too much. I regard her there in flannel pajamas and a t-shirt. Then I put down my cup, go to the garage, and get the rope. I should note that since this was written, my position on porcupine relocation has changed. I have since participated in this activity. Marriage 2. He was a supermodel, a presidential candidate, a porn star. He stood in the field in front of our house, basking in his own light. The spectacle stopped in my tracks. I had not seen this before, and it took several seconds for my brain to understand the information coming in over the retinal wire. He was as grand as he could make himself, feathers puffed out, almost standing on end, and tail opened like a fan. Not only standing, but slowly turning himself in place to show every angle, every facet. He looked like he had walked right off the front of a Thanksgiving card from Hallmark. So perfect was his Tom turkeyness. He wanted her to see. She was nearby, pecking at the grass, striding slowly away from him, wholly uninterested. Undaunted, he began to slowly move forward as if he walked a thin catwalk, nodding to his fans, aloof but aware. She was too busy to even glance at him, and that's when I noticed a slight motion near her long, still tail feathers. Then more. Then the motion took the shape of 4 gray puffballs that followed her in a perfect line. Babies. He had clearly impressed her at one time, and now just wanted some of the romance back. She pecked and grazed, keeping one eye on the babies, training no eyes on him. She was done with him, maybe just wanted him to stop showing off and help keep track of the puffballs. He serenaded her with a burst of sound, like gurgling water, shaking his waddle. Nothing. She turned away. The puffballs collected by her scaly yellow feet. She was busy. The Tom stopped his pivoting, lowered his feathers, and shrank. He transformed from the rock star to the guy who delivers our mail, the guy with the good job and the steady paycheck. Thanks so much.
I forgot to mention that Kate Carroll DeGudis' book, Objects in the Mirror Closer Than They Appear, is for sale at the merch table. Next, Kathy Winograd is the author of Phantom Canyon, Essays of Reclamation, a finalist in the Forward Review's 2014 IndieFab Book of the Year Awards, and Air into Breath, winner of the Colorado Book Award in Poetry. She's recently been chosen by AWP as its member in the spotlight and serves as faculty for Regis University's Mile High MFA program and Arapahoe Community College. Kathy's had an essay in 4th genre, and another one will be appearing in the next issue. Please welcome Kathy Winograd.
Thank you, Laura, for inviting me here. Very happy to be here. I think if I step this up, I can do it in 5 minutes, but if you start wiggling your ankles when I get close to 5 minutes, I will stop. Okay. Birds in Nietzsche. Only the perishable can be beautiful. That's by Walt Stevens. I don't know how I saw the bird or knew it different from the understory of these woods here beneath our nipple mountain. That altricial bluebird, hatchling blind and featherless, nest hugger I've heard it called, blown down by July's monsoon into leaf mat, into what each summer we watch turn back to earth. Nietzsche said truth is a mobile army of metaphor. And so that day I took you down the southern draw to the aspen shoot to search out the tree scars of a young bear the dogs had frightened the day before. And we followed the curling barbed wire that some vanished rancher had long ago hammered into the living trees as if boundaries could be delineated here. Everything was already the litter of a long married season. The scattered branches, whole trees down, wind throws, the bark barely snagged to the naked boles, and the sapwood long turned to rigid heartwood and its rings. And then quick light hit the bird, or there was no light, and so I could see its lightness like the skin of an infant, like the too early skin of our premature daughters we once wept over, fearing touch, a skein of touch that could pull the heart out. And then this bird, this warm sack of bird amidst the linear trees and the hard rocks we called our own. Why here? Why now? I remember asking you, and how hard I feared I'd become, touching the bird, its head pulling back at my touch, its wide beak opened, insistent against the decay, against the coldness of long range, the coming dark that would surely kill it, and me saying to you, let it stay, let it die. How little I understood my own parents or your parents' long marriage when I was younger. The mysteries of familiarity, of love tempered by the body's small failings. Everywhere the quiet little deaths, the little angers, until finally we would ask ourselves, where the tenderness like succor? Last night, restless in the 3 o'clock din of the world and the lonely maelstroms of this changing woman's body, I thought about birds again, of you, of how many years you have slept so quietly here beside me, and of the baby bird, just white space here, but the quiet already moving back into it as wind moves into the trees. I didn't want to bother finding a box to feed it sugar water. This is the way of the world, I told you. And so I used a screwdriver to scrape skeleton after skeleton out of our abandoned winter wren house, to show you layer upon layer of baby birds, whole seasons of them like tiny sails of skin and bone. And now I hear the sound of my mother, widowed for years, weeping, her door closed to me still, and your mother speaking your father's name. Where is Paul each day after, like Psalm? Nietzsche calls thoughts the shadows of feelings, obscure, empty, simpler. And so I give you now the sparrow we once found before we were married, its breast impaled by a single thorn, its caught bones floating in the wind, how we let it hang from the bushes months, scoured and beautiful as we lay in each other's arms for the first time night after night, as if taboo or sacred. There is something of a love poem here, what I had forgotten. You asked me when I knew what love was, and I thought of the mountain bluebird, migratory and paired, which flies across the borders of whole countries, season after season, to reach the same nest like this one beneath the eaves of our porch, each dawn the waiting male singing his mate home. We walked down the south side of our land, that little circle of wilderness we steward, our neighbors shooting at their rusty farm machinery, their bullets pinging back at me over the draw, and you standing at the spring quieting me, telling me not to shout out at the neighbors, not to shout out at the wind. And then I found the bird. No, you said, take it with us. And so I scooped it up with my hand, what I would have embraced as a young girl, let it tumble into my palm, fearful for its bruisings. It opened its beak again, and I wrapped it in my shirt, walked the path home behind you, its weight in my hand, its warmth I kept feeling for, circle of our wood evolving, devolving. Here is my image of you, standing on a precarious rocking chair, me steadying it and you rolling the naked bird so lightly from your fingers into the hollow bowl of that nest. And how we stood there beneath a half-dying tree, my mother looking through the door window, watching us as we waited in wonder to see the bluebird with a whole sky on its back hop from branch to branch, then disappear beneath the porch eaves, a bright bee pinned in its beak. It was you who first taught me of Nietzsche, who said something already dead in our hearts. And so I won't say the word to you here, now, but know it is in the caesura of this poem I am giving you, when some weeks later you dragged a footstool from the tool shed so you could check for the baby bluebird we had left in the care of this other mother. You put your finger so carefully into the nest. Here, you said, then placed a pale blue egg in the hollow of my hand.
Thank you, Kate. Okay, we're going to do a couple more raffle drawings. Tickets, please. Tickets, please. Here she comes. We have 2 more readers, one from Under the Gum Tree next, and one from Fourth Genre, closing us out. Thanks for sticking with us, because it is getting a little chilly up here, but how awesome is this venue? I mean, come on. Yeah, we're on a rooftop, and it's LA. Okay, 6410. 6410. Anyone? Anyone? Yes, we have a winner. You can go to the merch table and pick out your prize. And 6408. 6408. Yes? 6408? Okay, fantastic. 2 winners. Okay, our next reader is joining us from Florida. I like saying where people are from because here we are. This is like the one time we all get together. We're all coming from all over the country, right? Okay, so our next reader is from Florida, where he teaches in the MFA program at the University of Florida. He's the author of The Melting Season, Southside Buddhist, Talk Thai, and in Thailand it is night. And his essay, The Animatronic Dog, is in the current issue of Under the Gum Tree. Please welcome Ira Sukrungrung. Did I say it right? Yes, I got it. Here it comes.
Oh, hi everyone. I love fourth genre Under the Gum Tree. And I'm not just saying that because I want to be published in there again. I really mean it. I'm going to read a little section from the essay in Under the Gum Tree called The Animatronic Dog. Fridays were show and tell in Mrs. S's first grade class. I was never keen on show and tell, an hour-long segment of the day dedicated to showcasing cool toys my parents never bought me. Once I bought my stuffed animal Bobo, and the other boys laughed. "Do you cuddle with that?" someone said. Already, these boys were posturing. It happened all the time to Chicago boys, born and bred in working-class families. They postured. They stuck out their chins and chests like their factory worker fathers. Learned to form their words in the gut. Secretly, I'm sure they had their own stuffed animals like Bobo, their own blankets, and they clung to. They never brought them to show and tell. Only G.I. Joes, only remote control cars, only whoopee cushions. That day, my show and tell item was a Thai coin, 1 satang. And Tanya Talon, one of the nicest girls in school, did not bring the usual girl thing. What she brought was something that made the class silent, made Mrs. S, who usually sat in a rocking chair off to the side, take Tanya in her arms. We sat on the classroom floor, Indian style, and when it was Tanya's turn, she stood up, her hand linked behind her back. Tanya came from an enormous family and lived a block away from Harnew Elementary. Usually she wasn't shy, but today, up in front of us, she did not meet our eyes, but stared at the space between her feet. "Tanya," Mrs. S said, "what did you bring today?" Mrs. S must have noticed Tanya's peculiar behavior because she straightened in the rocker. On a daily basis, Mrs. S handled crying. It was the job of a first grade teacher, wasn't it? To sense the moment tears were about to spill, to teach us how to read and write and count. Usually cries stemmed from a fall or a fight. I assumed Mrs. S had become an expert cry detector, noticing quivering lips, held breaths of anger, change in color, balled up hands. I was sure that afternoon she could sense a cry coming. But Tanya did not cry. She extended her right arm. What lay in her hand looked like a watch. "What is it, honey?" Mrs. S said. "A collar," Tanya said, her voice aimed at the floor. The collar was a faded red. It had a silver pendant on it, and I thought it was a Buddha, like the one I kept hidden around my neck. "Tell us more," Mrs. S said. "This collar was my dog's," Tanya said. "It's pretty," Mrs. S said. "What's your dog's name?" I don't remember the dog's name, but I remember Richie Holgren saying how the dog liked to bark at him through the fence. I remember him saying he was pretty. Richie lived across the street from Tanya and had a wild head of brown hair and deep, deep dimples. He and Tanya walked to school together. "I'm sorry, Tanya," Richie said. "For what?" "Richie," Mrs. S said. "My dog died," said Tanya. "I loved him very much. I miss him." Sweetheart, said Mrs. S, and her face softened. No longer did she look like a witch who threatened misbehaved kids with her evil eye. Tell us more about what you miss about him. Tanya raised her eyes to the class for the first time. He liked to roll around on his back. My dog does that, someone said. Mine too, said another. Tanya smiled, a few teeth missing. It's funny, he had such an itchy back. Would you like to pass the collar around, Mrs. S said. Tanya nodded and handed it to a person in front. It made a soft clink from person to person. What else do you remember, Mrs. S said. Tanya thought about it. She wore pink overalls that day and white sneakers with pink laces. Her hair was tied up in a pink scrunchie. At night, he slept with me. He could have slept with my sisters, but he slept with me. He was soft, especially behind the ears. I liked touching him there, and he liked it too. That's a good memory, Mrs. S said. Your dog isn't truly gone if you remember that. This was when the cry began. Not a loud cry, not a heavy cry. It was silent, the first silent cry I had ever witnessed. The reason I remember this moment so well, it was a cry that did not express pain, but longing. I cried like this 10 years later when my father moved out that winter day, and I knew I had lost something in my life, my sense of family. The class did not know what to do, so we sat and watched. There was a lesson here. We all knew it. But how deeply we understood was another question. We were 6 after all. There was still so much for us to learn beyond reading and writing, but the human heart and how much joy and pain it could hold. Mrs. S rose from the rocking chair and scooped Tanya into her arms. She sat back down and rocked her. Tanya hid her face into Mrs. S's shoulder. It's all right, Mrs. S kept repeating. The collar made it to me. It was light in my hands, the texture rough on my skin. The dog tag jingled. I squeezed it and did what my mother told me when speaking of the dead. I prayed to Buddha. I blessed the dog and wished him luck in his next journey, whatever that may be. Wish what my mother always said to wish for when we passed roadkill or when I accidentally stepped on an ant. I wish the animal to be born into a human life and to be loved. When you grow up with dogs, you grow up with a sense of loss. You grow up knowing that your dogs have shorter lifespans, that your time with them is limited. You're prepared for what is inevitable. My ex-wife and best friend, Katie, has grown up her entire life with dogs. Going through her family photos, I would be hard-pressed to find one that did not include a dog. The phrases of Katie's life is measured out by their lives. They become pillars of memory, a way to access years. This happened, she would say, when Bonnie was first a pup. For her, there has been a list of dogs. Sergeant, the German Shepherd mix, Hawk, the Husky, Amber, the Cocker Spaniel, Alex, the mutt with the softest ears, and then the Golden Retrievers, Andrew, Mick, and Bonnie, and then our dogs, Ginger, Charlie, and Savvy. Katie understands love and loss, understands it over and over. In Jeff Schmidt's expertly woven essay, Otis and Jake, he described the lives of his 2 dogs, one about to pass on and the other a rambunctious puppy, and juxtaposes them to the birth of his first child and the end of his marriage. At the end of the essay, Schmidt writes, why do we take things close to our hearts? Why do we love? We know the dogs we take in as puppies will grow old, will get sick, will know pain, will die. We know that we will outlive them, that they will be seized by a kind of suffering that we can never lift. When you lose love, it mauls your heart. It bloodies you. And yet again and again, we choose to love. Again and again. Why do we choose to love? Again and again and again. There is no logical answer, of course. except, as Buddha says, we are born with love etched into our being. It is the reason we cling. It is the reason we cry. But as soon as we emerge into the world, as soon as we gulped our first breath of air, begins our first lesson of love. The two are inexorably linked. Thank you.
Thank you. Oops, I lost it. Katie Standiford writes about the body, consent, and medical technology from Tucson. Winner of the 2015 Iowa Review Award in Creative Nonfiction, her most recent work appears in fourth genre, this issue, the Iowa Review, the Colorado Review, Cut Bank, and the Indiana Review, and has been nominated for a Pushcart Prize. She has an MFA in Creative Nonfiction from the University of Arizona, where she currently teaches in a pilot narrative medicine program at UA's College of Medicine. Please welcome Katie Standiford.
Hi, this is fabulous. So my essay is a funny thing formally. It has a reference list for a body, animalis, references for a body, one winter is the title. So I'm going to read to you from a few of the references. Yikes. Right?
Don't point it at the speaker.
I need like 7 hands. Okay, we're going to start with Erdrich Louise, Love Medicine, Revised Edition, New York, HarperCollins, 1993. 8, October. Do you remember my name? No. Good. You don't know mine either? No. Grins. Katie. You shouldn't have told me, but Milo. His body is white, flat in strange places with fat. His penis is thin and short. He takes me to his attic bedroom, the roof-slanted triangle above us. He has a blonde ponytail that I like, a soft Tennessee accent, an adorable smile. On the dance floor at the cowboy bar, he pressed himself into me, stuck his entire tongue in my ear, dipped his hand slyly between my legs, things my ex never would have done. So I went home with him, crossing the cold curbs of Laramie in the middle of the night. My vest swung over his shoulder, our hands clasped. His bedroom walls are hectic with band posters, pictures tacked up with Scotch tape, paintings he did in high school. Beside the bed, he lifts my face and kisses me, then throws me onto the mattress. Disappears into the bathroom. I look around, kick off my shoes. Milo returns, impatient, and yanks my pants off, quickly, harshly, then grins charmingly. He tells me he studies ice, Arctic geology. He slides into me. It feels a little good for a minute. Then he loses his erection. His small penis is a wiggling worm as he leans over me, jerking it back to life. He loses it again. He becomes very red in the face. I think of my ex and the month he lost erections, how I wasn't patient enough. He couldn't stop thinking of work, he told me, that terrible job at the newspaper. How do you think I feel? He cried once, seeing my hurt face, burying his in our red bedspread. I try not to think of him. I am kind to Milo. It's okay, really, I say, examining the ceiling. Outside, coal trains pass from the Powderhorn Basin toward Denver. Cold air streams in the window. It's late autumn, the edge of winter in the north. This is the first time I've gone home with a stranger. It was easy, the way we found each other in a pack of bodies, the delicious way touch lit me after so many months. But now, my car is half a mile away, parked at a friend's. Milo lies down beside me and faces the wall. The train blows its whistle. If I weren't still tipsy, I'd slip out, drive on across Wyoming to the northern mountains where I'm spending a long weekend. Tough plains under the moon. I turn and run the rough side of my hand down Milo's soft back, thinking maybe he will kiss me again. We were good at that. You must really like fat guys, Milo says. I say. Milo rolls off to the other side of the bed and stays there. When I try to spoon him, he shakes me off. Okay, skipping a little bit. Footnote number 13 does not have a source. Where do we get ourselves about how to be in a body? Sometimes seemingly nowhere, buried in us, told so long ago. Sometimes the body itself.
Mine seemed to edge its way forward, feeling for comfort with my brain scrambling behind. The body could rear courageously up, as though it belonged to someone else, or shake with nerves when seemingly nothing was wrong. It was a body that wanted love, but also other things. Or it was a body that wanted sex, but also other things. This is another way to say it. What I craved that winter was a manual, something that told me how to do it, to be a body, to make body decisions. What I got was myself on the floor with books. What I got was myself on the internet. I sat in public health conferences, turning my own paltry experiences over in my mind. In the classroom, my answers were chipped slowly into precision by the questions of students. I forgot to tell you guys I was working as a sex ed teacher. It took until my mid-20s to do this work because I'd so bought into the idea that to say no was somehow morally superior. I'd gritted my teeth against these upwellings, these surges, for the body was not to be trusted. For sex itself, dirty, questionable, needed to be redeemed by love, by monogamy, if not by marriage. This winter, the body went first, erasing all the old advice, and the books explained the body as best they could. And the body changed the books, other books, seemingly unrelated books. Sex and love both hold this power, infusing a text with feelings of an era, with the light and color of an evening. This book of poetry holding the twist of his mouth, that novel, my heart breaking. I'm trying to show you the way it feels to me, but you will have your own list, indecipherable, flawed. Joanitas Paul, The Guide to Getting It On, 6th edition, Waldport, Oregon, Goofy Foot Press, 2009, footnote 14. We kept one basket of brightly colored condoms on the drinking fountain and another in the bathroom, so teens could fill their purses in private. We left a fishbowl on the counter for donations, clattering handfuls of spare change, crumpled bills, the occasional check from a parent. We propped up laminated signs about mandatory reporting. All services were free, no one over 20 allowed. We buzzed them in through a locked door with bars across the glass. On Fridays, the clinic performed abortions. As the manager, I wore a headset and collected the little paper sign-in slips where teens checked boxes and silently passed me their needs. It took me only a few months working the teen clinic front desk to understand that everything I thought about young sex was wrong. When I was a teen myself, I'd been an angry Christian. Not so much because of my mother's church, where these days they talk recycling and gay rights from the pulpit, but because being a self-identified Christian at all left me open to infection by the more virulent strains of high school evangelism. My Christian friends reminded me to pray around the flagpole on See You at the Pole Day. They told me non-believers went to hell. They took me to concerts with flashing magenta and blue lights, where teens with safety pin piercings fell to their knees sobbing, speaking tongues. We were all very clear. Sex before marriage was wrong. Because God thought so, I felt conveniently free to judge. My standards were rigid. There were no exceptions. I was better than those girls, the ones who drank free beer at parties and wound up in the side bedroom, the ones who let their boyfriends slide their jeans off in the back of SUVs. I thought back then that I could pick them out, the girls with streaky blonde hair and perfect makeup, the cheerleaders with their tanned legs, maybe a goth kid or two, the chubby ones with purplish hair and trench coats who cut themselves. Only the beautiful, popular, slutty, snobby people had sex, I reasoned, and the disturbed. I was wrong. The blonde, streaky girls came into teen clinics sometimes, but so did plain teens, their hair chunking unattractively to their shoulders. They marked emergency contraception on our sign-in slip. Some had long-term boyfriends and came in every month to pick up their pills. Some had IUDs inserted. Some came in with their moms. Some came in abstinent, wanting more information, or asking for birth control to help their acne. Some arrived in their fast food uniforms. Some only had oral sex, but took birth control just to get in the habit. Some had stomachs that hung over their belts. Some hunched their shoulders. There were drama club teens and soccer teens, lanky, awkward teens, and teens with shy smiles. There were teens who had been raped, teens who looked 10, queer teens holding hands in our waiting room chairs. There were boys who came in red-faced to get tested, and polite boys who picked up Plan B for their dates when the condoms broke. Some of them were in love. Some were just trying it out. It took a long time to silence the mean teenage voice ripping through my head, even though my grown-up self would have said, theoretically, academically, that sex was a human right. My teenage voice wondered what was wrong with these people to be having sex so young, or who could possibly want to have sex with them. The voice slowly flattened, then dissipated. The longer I said hello to the same faces, the more I felt like, well, what the fuck? There were things about sex that one could say were dangerous. Having sex to bolster self-esteem, for example. Poorly timed pregnancy and infections. But these were dangerous at any age, not just for young people. They were dangerous for me, fresh out of my first relationship, hurt and horny. I found myself admiring the teens I saw every month, picking up their pills on time. I found myself wanting fiercely to hold this space for them, to make this space for myself. Thank you.
Thank you, Katie. Okay, we're gonna do last round of raffle tickets, and then I'll, say my thank yous and good nights and take a bow and all of that good stuff. I'm gonna announce. Okay.
The wrong thing. So I just want to say, all the Kates and Katies in the house, you want to raise your hands because it seems like there's a ton of us. No, I guess we're just all reading and staffing. Okay, never mind. I feel like every time.
Okay, so we have 6384. 6384. Yes. Okay. Awesome. And 6294. 6294. Yes, yes, yes. How many prizes are left over there, Jeremy? Can I do a couple more tickets? How many prizes are left?
There's a lava lamp.
There's a lava lamp over there, you guys. Laura brought the lava lamp. So let's do a couple more tickets. And Penny is donating a book to the raffle. So yes, let's do a couple more tickets. Okay, 6381. 6381. Yes? Do we have a winner? 6381. No. Okay. 6305. Yeah, that one. 6305. 6305. Yes, we have a winner. Awesome. 6382. 6382. No, no, no. 6412. Yes, 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 yes. Okay. 6413. Yes. Okay. I'm going to stop for now because I don't know how many prizes are left. So let's hear it one more time for all of our readers. Yeah. Let's also hear it for Bonaventure and our lovely staff for the evening because they are awesome and we've had such an awesome time being here on the rooftop. I also want to say a shout out to my staff who you've met throughout the evening. Rob and Martin did the introductions at the beginning. Kate Ashy was your welcome greeter at the table and the raffle girl. And that's my husband, Jeremy Marin, working the merch table. He's awesome. Thank you, Laura, for partnering with me on this event and Fourth Genre. This has been so fun and so awesome. And if you are loving this venue, you can stay for another event happening right after this. Tupelo Press is doing an all-genre reading. So you can hang out, drink, and eat some more, support Bonaventure because they're been so awesome to us, hosting us. And then I'm going to do a couple quick little plugs for myself and some of the other projects that I do because publishing a magazine isn't enough work. For you all who love creative nonfiction and write creative nonfiction, okay? Because I know that's why we're all here, right? We love nonfiction. Two things. Northern California, Sacramento is where Under the Gum Tree is from. I run a quarterly reading series there called True Story. So if you're ever in the area, hit me up. We're always looking for readers. I would love to support you in your work in that way. And also, I just launched a podcast called More to the Story, where you can hear excerpts of nonfiction writers reading their work and doing an interview. And Penny is on one of those episodes, so you can hear more of Penny's work and an interview with her. It's on iTunes, moretothestory.com, moretothestorypodcast.com, tellatruestory.com. So those are all of my nonfiction genre-related gigs. Be sure to visit us at the book fair, 621. There are more magazines, there are more t-shirts, there are more posters. Be sure to visit Fourth Genre at the book fair, table 200. Get a subscription. You can enter a raffle for a drawing to win a subscription, right? And get yourself a copy of the current issue and just send us your love because we love you. Okay, that's all I'm going to say. Thank you so much for coming, and enjoy the rest of your AWP. Thank you and good night.